Hi, this is Melanie for Pardesi Reviews, and I'm here to do a movie review of the Malayalam film Joseph, starring Joju George. If you're new to the Pardesi Reviews channel, I review Malayalam, Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu films, and I also do trailer reactions. Joseph came out last fall, and I was not able to see it in theaters, but a kind viewer has sent me a copy because it's not yet on any streaming service in the US that I could find. And it was one that I'd been urged to see, and I was sorry to have missed it in theaters. Joju George is someone who I've seen in so many films, usually as a character actor, often in a policeman's uniform, oftentimes an over-the-top kind of comedic performance. I'm thinking of Nyan Marikuti. He was in Action Hero Biju. He was in so many different films. I can't even count them all that I've seen him in. But this was a revelation to me, seeing him as a leading actor for the first time. And this film, yes, it's a crime thriller kind of film, but it's more really a character study about Joseph, the main character, and he's a retired policeman, and his life and his melancholy and all the flashbacks that we get that fill in the picture of what kind of a man he is and what has happened to him to get him to the state that he is when we see him at the beginning of the film. This film was directed by M Padmakumar, who I don't think I have seen any of his other films, but the script was written by Shahi Kabir. And it's really an interesting script because we see Joseph at the beginning of the film, and he is drinking in the morning. You can see that he's an alcoholic. We're shown all of these empty bottles. He looks overweight. He just kind of has this blank expression to his face. You could tell the house is empty. He lives alone. And all of a sudden he gets a phone call. And then we see that this retired policeman has all of these skills. This opening sequence where he's called in to help at a murder scene, and he walks carefully around the house, and you can just tell he is listening to everything, he is observing everything, he is noticing details everywhere that he looks, and he solves the case in about 20 minutes. And that's one of my favorite parts of the film. You just see how competent he is as a policeman, that even though he's retired, the current police chief still calls him in on tough cases and asks for his help. And he relishes that chance to finally be able to, use his skills again, because otherwise he's just sitting at home. Gradually, we fill in through flashbacks what has brought him to this point, and I really don't want to spoil anything about the film. So I'm going to be very sketchy about what exactly happens. There are some other murder mysteries that affect his life or close to his life and that he investigates. There's an interesting relationship with a character named Dileesh Pothan. We gradually learn what their connection is, and that was a really interesting relationship and a really interesting character. Joseph has a group of other retired police officers that are his close friends, who look out for him, who are worried about him and help him in this investigation that he sort of takes on, even though it's not official. And I found most of the film so affecting. Just his acting was a revelation to me. He was so good. And we see these scenes in flashbacks, and we see the difference that he can make in his acting, where he just seems so young and enthusiastic. And even before he's a policeman, we see a scene. There's a really beautiful love song. There's a few songs in the film by a new music director, Ranjan Raj. And one very early flashback has a love song. And that was one of my favorite sequences of the film. It was so evocative, and you could just feel the sexual tension and the love in that song. I really like that. Now, there's some other songs in the second half of the film that I felt like it just stretched the movie out, especially towards the end. When you're talking about kind of a thriller kind of a thing, I think you want to increase the pace towards the end, and it just kind of stopped the action dead. I didn't mind it in the flashback scene, and there was one particularly effective funeral scene that was so moving, and then having the music on top of it, just, I was really teary-eyed in this particular funeral scene. There were some funeral customs that I wasn't familiar with of kissing. It was a Christian burial, of kissing the deceased and then putting a cloth over and kissing the body. That was something that we don't do in the US, and so it was so interesting. But anyway, I just got so teary-eyed, then the music just makes your emotions swell up in that moment. So in some places the music was added so much to the scene, but then it just felt like there was too much and slow-mo and whatever in the songs in the last part of the film. I don't want to say too much about the plot. I felt like there was twist after twist after twist, and you felt like Joseph was always a couple of steps ahead of everyone else, and that's why some of the things that happened at the very end, I questioned the choices. They kind of made it really a larger issue, and I don't know if a certain person who sacrificed himself, if that was the best way to end the film. I don't know, but I think over and all, I was captivated up until the end, wondering how the mystery was going to all resolve. So very fine script overall. I think the pacing could have been, like, some scenes, especially in the latter third of the film or so, could have been shortened up to enhance kind of that thriller aspect. The performance of Joju George knocked my socks off, and I cannot wait to see. I hope he's getting recognition for this, and I hope he will get other leading roles. I'll still enjoy seeing him in the character roles and supporting roles, but I hope everyone is recognizing the talent that he has and that he'll be able to get more interesting roles like this. I don't know who the makeup artist was, but they did such a great job of taking him, because his character, Joseph, goes from a very young man to a retired policeman with the gray in his beard, and he looked aged, in his face. Very, very good makeup job that felt natural and really kind of gave you a clue on where you were in the timeline of Joseph's life, if we were in a flashback, if we were in present day, so forth. So really good job with that. I hope that this is available on streaming services in the US soon. This is definitely one to seek out, because it's not a simple crime thriller film. It's more of a character study of this man, and he's a very interesting man, and he had a very interesting life and all sorts of complications to his life. It just was really well done. Went places I wasn't expecting it to go, and so kudos to the filmmakers for making such an interesting film. Please like and share this video review on Facebook or WhatsApp or wherever. Follow me on Twitter at PardesiYT. Subscribe here to Pardesi Reviews. And if you hit the bell when you subscribe, then you'll get a notification whenever I have a new trailer action or film review.